Today, I'm sharing 10 books that will make you addicted to reading. Whether you're new to reading, in a reading slump, or a seasoned reader, these 10 books will have you coming back for more. G'day, my name's Tim. I'm a reader, I'm a writer, and I'm a creator. And I wanted to add a quick disclaimer here that all of these books are accessible texts that are fun, engaging, and enjoyable reads. None of these books are necessarily easy or hard, but places that you can take off, engage, and get hooked into the story and the book. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's jump on in. First up is The Wager by David Graham. This follows the story of a ship called The Wager in 1740 who set sail on a secret mission during the Spanish Imperial War to chase down a Spanish vessel called the Galleon. The galleon is set to have the treasure of the ocean on board, and as the ship chases down the galleon, they shipwreck off the coast of Patagonia and get stranded on an island. 2 years later, 30 men on a flimsy life raft that they had built themselves arrive back in England with a story to tell, and they're labeled as heroes. 6 months later, 3 men labeled as castaways from that same voyage arrive back in England, and they have a different story to tell. This is one of those stories that doesn't entirely feel believable as you turn the pages through. In fact, I checked 100 pages in and double checked that it was a true story. The research that's done, the storytelling that's done, this reads like a crime thriller. It follows a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder, and it is just unbelievable. It is unputdownable. It is something that will immerse you and you'll think about it for months to come afterwards. It's a story of human behavior and extremes, and David Graham might be one of the greatest non-fiction writers alive. Anyway, that's The Wager. All right, keeping on the theme of non-fiction that reads like fiction, I've got The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. This follows the story of Stefan Bruthweister, who is the most prolific art thief of all time. Over 200 heists worth $2 billion, all stolen in the middle of the day. His girlfriend assisting him. He felt like a king. He kept all of the artwork in his attic and never sold a piece until it all comes to a shocking end. This story is truly unbelievable as you turn the pages and you dive deeper and deeper into this character, trying to understand his obsession, trying to understand his genius. It's fascinating, it's engaging, it hooks you start to finish. I finished this in one afternoon, sitting on the couch, and was just gobsmacked by the end. Michael Finkel writes his non-fiction in this creative storytelling way that immerses you into the character and the place, and you feel like you're there with him, uncovering these stories, but also going on your own art heists. I'm still in just fascination with this story here. When you read The Art Thief, it feels like you are solving a murder mystery. It's thrilling, it's engaging, and it just has this fascinating character at the center of it. All right, next up is The Book Thief by Mark Zuzak, a historical novel from 2005, which is narrated by death. It follows the story of Liesel, who is a young girl growing up in Nazi Germany. After her brother dies, she is fostered by Hans and Rosa Huberman, and she learns to read and she steals books as a way of fighting back against the oppression of Nazi Germany. Hubermans risk their lives by hiding a Jewish man named Max in their basement, who Liesel becomes close with over the course of the story. The story is deeply emotional, it's haunted, it feels tender and real and raw. What I really loved about this book is that Mark uses death as the narrator for this story. And I think what he does incredibly well is he's flipped death on its head to, rather than death being this horrible kind of Grim Reaper character, death cares about humans. And so he's narrating from this place of care and tenderness and love, whilst also recognizing that he has a job to do. It does this incredible job of balancing brutality and tenderness and the love that comes with it. And from listening to interviews of Mark talking about his parents growing up in that part of the world during that period of time and their stories, you can feel just how personal and real and honest the pages are for him. But yeah, anyway, that's The Book Thief by Mark Zuzak. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This story spanned over 3 decades. Sam and Sadie Green meet each other for the first time in a children's hospital. Sadie is there visiting her sister who has cancer, and Sam is in hospital recovering from a car accident that had injured his foot and killed his mother. Later in life, they reconnect through university and become creative partners along with their side producer, Mark. They create video games together, they set up a gaming company, and this story follows 2 characters that are navigating fame, love, and loss, and the complexities that they have within their platonic romantic relationship of sorts. This is one of those books that you just know as you turn those pages is going to emotionally devastate you as a human being. I'll say 2 things. This is the first book that I ever reviewed in video format a long time ago, so that's fun. The second thing is Gabrielle Zevin has this way that she writes, and it feels very much like John Green and the way that he writes in Looking for Alaska or Fault in Our Stars, that just has this emotional tension that they just have like this gravitas with, and you feel them almost flexing it on the pages and almost like bringing you into their little web and realizing that you're in for one hell of a story. I don't really like video games, but I think this book will speak to anyone that's creative, has grown up in the 90s, has had a relationship of sorts, and I feel like there are just so many different angles that you can come at this book and love this book and be engaged in this world. And it's been 4 years since I've read it, and I still think about it all the time. Also, my mum recommended me this one, so shout out. And I gave my copy of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow away to a dear friend of mine, hence not having my copy now. All right, next up is Frederick Backman. You could put any Frederick Backman here. I'm talking about the Beartown trilogy. I don't have the copy of the first one currently, so this is the second in the series. You could put Anxious People, you could put My Friends, you could put any of his works, insert them here, and all of them are really great stories to get immersed in, get engaged in, and really accessible stories, particularly if you're in a reading slump, particularly if you are new to reading, because these stories are just engaging and the emotion meets you on the page and you get to meet yourself in the middle and feel full as you are reading these stories. I've spoken about the Beartown series before on this channel, but I'm going to go a little bit further into it right here. The Beartown series follows a small Swedish town called Beartown and their junior ice hockey team. The heart and lifeblood of this town is this junior ice hockey team. And it all takes a turn when the star player on the team commits a heinous, unforgivable crime. And the aftermath of the event on this small little town in Sweden. On loyalty, on justice, on toxic masculinity, and the meaning of winning at all costs. I became addicted to this story, and to this day it's still my favorite trilogy of all time. My mum doesn't like sports at all, and she adored this trilogy. Frederick Backman does this thing where he balances your emotions on this knife edge and has like this really fine line in the sand of being on this like devastated side over here, and then the other side over here is labeled with just that lining of hope. And that's what Frederick Backman does, and that's what makes his books addicting and his storytelling engaging and fulfilling and real and honest. And I'll never stop talking about this series. I'm sorry, I love it. Anyway, that's the Beartown series by Frederick Backman. Yeah, whew, look at that, it's raining sideways. I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. A breakneck race against time and an implacable enemy. A woman is killed in a hotel room. A father is publicly beheaded. A man has his eyes gouged out. Smoldering human remains on a mountainside. and a crime that is set to change all of humanity. All of these are linked. This is one of the best suspense novels I've ever read. It's over 500 pages, and a few years ago I read it in 3 days. It is so hard to put down. It is really well crafted. It is clever. It is cunning. It's got so many different elements. There's so many things to like from so many different angles for anyone that's reading it. This is one of those books that you feel like you're almost like taking yourself out to dinner and enjoying a multiple course meal, or a 3-step journey, or a 4-day hike. It just feels like it has so many different layers, and every time you think you've kind of worked it out, it'll twist in so many different directions that you'll be like, I don't even know what's happening. Terry Hayes is a screenwriter, and this was one of the best suspense novels of a decade, and I don't hear many people talking about it. What I will say is that it took him almost a decade to write his next book after the success of this one. And all I'm going to say is that this is a page turner. This will have you on the edge of your seat. This will have you guessing in all sorts of different ways. And you will not believe the end. Anyway, I am Pilgrim, Terry Hayes. All right, next up is Limber Lost by Robbie Arnott. I'm not going to stop talking about this book until I'm blue in the face. I've told everyone about it. It is probably my favorite novel of this decade. It follows the story of Ned in the heat of a summer, who is killing rabbits and selling their pelt in order to buy himself a boat. His 2 brothers are off at war. His dad and sister are struggling to keep it together. And Ned is desperate to ignore it all. And in ignoring it all, he is just dreaming of open water. This story unfolds over the next decades of Ned's life, and how that summer and the choices he made that summer shape his life. The fate of his family, the future of the valley, death, rebirth, love, and loss. The way I've described Robbie Arnott over and over again is that Robbie Arnott is one of those authors that when you read his work, you feel like you've just taken a photo and you've turned the vibrance and the contrast to 100, and everything is punching you in the face with color and vibrance and beauty. There is just something about the way that he writes that you just gravitate towards and you hold and love. And I'll never get over how real this feels, how you feel like you're there with them. This story is actually based on a little section of his grandfather's life in a certain respect, so it feels really real, but it's honest and it's raw. And there's just so much beauty in the writing that I can't even describe it in the way that I want to describe it. But if you read this book, you will be addicted to Robbie Arnott, and I'm almost sure that it'll be one of your favorite books. Anyway, that's Limber Lost by Robbie Arnott. I feel like I never do that one justice. It's just so hard. It's so good. It's just so good. All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whittaker. 1975 is a time for change in America. The Vietnam War is ending. Muhammad Ali is fighting Joe Frazier. And in a small town of Montclair, girls are disappearing. When a daughter of a wealthy family is targeted, an unlikely hero in local boy Patch is the one that saves the day. And he leaves heartbreak in his wake. Patch and those who love him soon discover that the distance between triumph and tragedy isn't that far. And the search for answers is going to take them beyond what they've ever known. A mystery, a thriller, a serial killer, and a love story, with all having their own individual twists. This was stunning. It was stunning from start to finish. The twists are some of the best that I've ever read. I sat down in this exact chair. I locked myself in the house for what felt like 2 days, and I was all in. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was tragic. I thought it was a really cool depiction on what it takes to become an incredible artist, but also just this like tragedy and the thriller and trying to solve this story was just something that I didn't expect when I picked it up. Chris is just this master of putting characters in situations that feel real and feel like human decisions that could go one way or could go the other and feel incredibly unpredictable. This is a book of short chapters. It reads quick. It disappears as you turn the pages and you get engrossed in this story. And this book will have you questioning the colors in the dark. All right, 2 more to go as the sun has just peeped back out. Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Dominic Salt and his 3 kids live on an island called Shearwater Island, not too far from the coast of Antarctica. They are the only inhabitants and they are looking after one of the last remaining seed banks. And everything is going fine until the worst storm the island has ever seen hits the shorelines and a woman washes up on the shore. Wild Dark Shore was my favorite book of 2025. Charlotte McConaughey is my favorite writer, and this story is no exception. Charlotte McConaughey is one of those writers that as you are reading her work, she grabs you from where you're sitting, she picks you up, and she drops you into her story. Zips it closed, and you are there until you finish that story. You follow the characters around, you get to see what they see, their descriptions, their world, how they interact with one another. It is one of the most surreal experiences that I have ever obtained. There's only a couple of writers that feel like they insert you into their world and into their book in this powerful way, and Charlotte McConaughey is one of those writers. I'm not going to talk much more about it, but the language, the description, the place, the characters, the story, it will leave you different. It'll leave you different. You'll feel different. You will be different. I'm different for reading this book. Charlotte McConaughey, Wild Dark Shore. Cooly dooly. And the final one, I think you probably could have guessed this, is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. How can you not include The Lord of the Rings on a list like this? In a sleepy village of the Shire, a young hobbit is entrusted with an almighty task: to take the ruling ring across Middle-earth to the cracks of doom and destroy it to prevent the Dark Lord's evil domination. This is a joyful, beautiful roller coaster of a story. As you will probably know, most people are very aware of The Lord of the Rings. And if you've never read the books are just this masterpiece of storytelling with rich detail and delightful characters and a quest of all quests. It's simply a masterpiece, and I know you've probably watched the films, but the books just engross you in this different way. It is filled with joy and love and adventure, and it is exactly what fantasy should be. Talking about this book right now makes me want to read it immediately, and I might actually sit down on the couch after this and read The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I made a decision. This is my favorite book in the trilogy. I love it dearly. I love this story. I love this world, and I love what J.R.R. Tolkien created here. Anyway, they are the 10 books that will make you addicted to reading. Let me know in the comments below if there's any books that you think should be on that list. I would love to hear them. In the meantime, be kind to yourself, be kind to one another, and I will see you back here next week.